Welcome to the HB Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, it was supposed to be our statistician and Photoshopper, Christian Hernandez, but he just disappeared for a second. I have no idea where Chris went. But instead, we have our homie, we have our 2K coach, Franky.
One night later, that loss still sucked.
That was was not a fun loss. But Christian will be here, and we are here. He stepped out for a second. He should be here any second now. We're here to rip the heat today. There's a lot that happened in that game, and there's a lot that's been systematically plaguing this team for a long time. And I think that a lot of us, especially here, we're making a lot of excuses for the team. And I think, Franky, they're not just excuses. I mean, they had legitimate health issues. You know, half their team caught a fucking a virus that has really shut our entire universe down, right? So I don't think that it was fair to really slander the team kind of prior to that. I think that they needed some time to get healthy. But ever since that point, welcome to our statistician, Photoshop Christian. Christian, where'd you go? You disappeared on us.
It's so easy to lose my attention.
Yeah, you just went away. We were just coming back. Oh, shout out to Clutch Adam in chat for gifting a tier 1 sub. We love to see it. We love you, man. Okay, so kind of Christian, to kind of loop you in, we really were soft on this team kind of in the beginning because they were hurt. They had a lot of their guys had COVID. They were going through a really rough stretch of their schedule. And I think adequately we said, let's wait and see until they're healthy what they look like. So they've had approximately 3 games where most of their guys have been back. And they're 1-2 in those games. The one win, eking out a win at home against the Kings by, a point or 2 or whatever. That was the last possession play. And I want to dedicate this show to going through all the shit that we are mad at. And I want you guys in chat here on Twitch, twitch.tv/MIAHeatbeat. If you're an audio-only podcast listener, you got to join in our live streams. We tweeted out our schedule at the beginning of the week and before every show. Follow us on Twitch. You can get notifications when we go live. We want you guys in chat to kind of vent out, show your grievances. We want to know what you guys are feeling too, right? So I kind of want to, I kind of almost not player by player, thing by item on the team. I kind of want to go through and talk about. I think I want to start with Bam, Christian. And in the chat, I've been incredibly hard on him. I've been super frustrated because we gave him a max contract. The Heat gave him a max contract. We as fans have dubbed him no ceiling. And we rightfully, I think fairly, debated whether he was a top 10 player. And I think a lot of his numbers are incredibly good. His play on both ends of the floor is phenomenal. But what's afflicting this team starts at the top. Starts from Riley all the way down to Gabe Vincent. And the max player is not above that criticism. Now, Christian, I'm going to give you the good first. I'm going to give you some stats on Bam that are absolutely insane. As an isolation player, he's scoring 1.26 points per possession.
That's incredible level in isolation.
Incredible. He's in the 89th percentile. And when he's isoing guys, they're getting almost a bucket and almost a point and a half. They're scoring every time Bam decides I'm going to face up and I'm going to fucking score. As a pick and roll man, as the roll man, which is his primary role in this offense, 1.35 points per possession. That is the 87th percentile. That is one of the best marks in the league. He's absolutely fucking destroying people. Destroying them. His defensive pedigree, we don't have to get into that. You see it. He's a defensive player of the year candidate every time he steps on the floor. We know what he can do defensively. And that's why I asked Christian. Last night, when Alex fucking Len, who was on Whiteside suplex a couple seasons ago, is sagging off of you when you're holding the ball in the mid post, why the fuck is Bam not attacking, Christian?
I mean, it's hard to say, Gianni. Obviously, I get that now we're treating Bam as a max player, but we've talked about this before. Technically, that deal doesn't even go into effect until next year. And it's going to be a process for him because, I mean, think about the way that the Heat had him playing by design when he first joined the team. Probably one of the most limited roles I've ever seen. Mind you, he was great at what he was doing, and that's why he was still impactful. And obviously on the defensive end, you don't need to really strategize and let him, be free and be impactful. But it's tough knowing, especially like you just referenced, like, he's dominating in one-on-one. He's really figuring out that part of his game. So you want to see him really leaning into it. Like, he still took 15 field goal attempts last night. So like we can't totally act like he was, super passive. But I guess the problem, like you're saying, Gianni, is in those situations when you have a favorable matchup and you know how good you are and what you're capable of, you have to maximize that when you see that everyone else around you is struggling.
Alex Len, Christian, there's no excuse. We have to. Alex Len is sagging off of you. Alex fucking Len.
Raptors legend.
The game is slipping through your hands. Your fucking season is like falling away from you. You're staring at the basket. You're staring at the hoop. You're tied against one of the worst fucking teams in the league. And what's standing between you and picking your fucking team up by the ground and lifting him to victory is Alex Len. And you fucking sit there and you wait for a white guy to curl off a pin down so you can do a handoff. Unacceptable. I'm sorry. Unfucking acceptable. Because if that was LeBron, if that was Dwayne, if that was Shaq, if that was any of the great players that came through here, that's not shit we'd accept. And he was good, and that's fine. But when they're switching those handoffs, that they always do. Now that's the scouting report's out. You run those handoffs, you switch. And Franky, do you know why teams are afforded to switch those handoffs? The handoffs that last season wrecked the league, which, by the way, Duncan Robinson last season on those handoffs, almost 1.3 points per possession, which was the best mark in the league.
YG.
Because you can't switch, because you can switch that, and Bam's not gonna punish smaller dudes. It's symptomatic of this offense. And if they switch Fred VanVleet onto you, and if they switch Bradley Beal onto you, and if they switch this Garrison Matthews guy onto you, you have to attack. And it's I'm sorry, I'm done with thinking this is okay. I'm done with blaming Kelly Olynyk and Kendrick Nunn and Gabe Vincent and all these people. Look in the fucking mirror, okay? Because when the game's falling away and when nothing's working and you're just sitting there on the elbow waiting for somebody to curl so you can hand off, I'm sorry. Not fucking good enough for me. I'm sorry. And I watched that frustrated and angry and upset, and I'm watching their season slip away, and I'm just mad. Franky, I'm just mad because this should not be happening. They have the best player on the floor, at least in the conversation with Beal, and that wasn't the case. Just wasn't.
It's a systematic issue. Like you said, it starts from the top. They believed in themselves too much. They get really complacent when they really enjoy their team. This happened back in 2006. This happened in 2013. This happened after the 30-11. Once they really fall in love with a group of guys, they run it back. And what happens every time? They got swept in 2007. They got gentlemen swept in 2014. They've made the playoffs, and they've made the playoffs one time in the 3 years after 30 and 11. Won one playoff game for nothing.
Thank you,
Dwayne. And this just shows that you have to consistently improve. You cannot bring the same group back. They've fucking whiffed on Mo Harkless really badly. Avery is a good player, but he can't stay healthy, and we can't count on that. Goran has not been able to heal, and he can't get by anybody without a screen, and he was the X factor in the playoffs. Goran Dragic turning into a 20 points per game scorer again with competent defense, and that ISO game in the playoffs was the reason we made the run. Not just Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder made him competent, but there's no lineup that can close. You have Andre Iguodala, what Christian pointed out yesterday and today, that Andre Iguodala is like one of the worst fourth quarter players this year. He can't. You're relying on Andre Iguodala fourth quarter threes for your offense because they are taking everything away from your stars. They're not making them pay. The shooters aren't. The Duncan's the only shooter that's hitting shots. Kelly went from 40% to 33%. Tyler from 38 to 32. Goran
Tyler's
from
been bad. Yeah.
Goron's about the same, but he's not the threat because he can't get to the basket anymore. You have all this, and there's no fucking reinforcements on the backside. You drafted a guy in Precious who you won't play, and all defense lineups, despite you needing a stop, and you talking about versatility, positionless. You won't play this fucking guy next to your best defensive players, but you will play fucking black holes on defense. It doesn't make any fucking sense what they're doing this season. Spo doesn't call a fucking challenge. They don't do shit. They
that damn challenge.
Oh
thing.
my
Everyone
god,
on
man!
Twitter's
It's
mad at
driving me fucking nuts. And I'm always believing in Spo, giving him the benefit of the doubt, man. But some of these little margin shits that he's been doing this season has been fucking awful. He runs questionable plays, doesn't call timeout when he should. When he sees plays go out of fucking whack. Fucking that Goran Dragic 3, he should have burned that timeout when he saw.
Chat's making fun of me because of our internet. They say are we using Chat's making fun of our internet connection. They also said that Franky sounds like he's in a Walmart back room. We're back. We disconnected for a second. I don't know what's going on with stream, but we're here. We're back. We're here to talk you through this. Couple things from chat. They're complaining about the challenges, which I thought was funny. Clutch Adam in the chat is saying, why don't they run the set where Bam is the ball handler and Duncan sets a high pick for Bam's man, usually a big man, more on the elbow. They at least get free throws out of that every time. I mean, that's Adam. That's kind of what I'm talking about, and it's why I think Spo deserves accountability. It's why Bam deserves accountability. Jimmy, everybody. It's not. I was tweeting this today. It's not Eric's best year, right? I feel like the conversation around Spo is always really. It's always if you criticize him, you're not allowed to because he's obviously one of the best coaches in the league, or people just say Spo sucks, and he's some guy on Twitter was telling me Spo's never drawn up a game-winning play, right? The conversation around Eric Spoelstra is totally fucking yeah, Christian, you're laughing, but that's the shit that happens, right? So I'm just I don't understand. It's so fucking stupid to me. I get upset. I don't really know what's going on with that conversation, but I do think that kind of what we were talking about the handoff stuff and everything. I think Spo's really married to his system. And I think that when shit's not working and you really got to drive your players to be more aggressive, I think, when teams are switching against you, they have nobody to pick on those matchups. Jimmy Butler's a guy that is the only one that really does that. He kind of matchup hunts. When teams switch against him, he looks for guards and he bullies them. Other than him, nobody else is doing that, right? So that's kind of shit that bothers me about kind of Spo and their little handoff offense. Moving on to the second thing I want to complain about. And Christian, I know that you're pretty ready for this. Tyler Herro. Because Tyler is a guy that he's absolutely their best asset. And I think that the Heat and fans have overvalued him a little bit. I think he's been good this season.
You really think he's their best asset?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, outside of Bam and Jimmy, who are absolutely
they're
not
untouchable
going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's because he's cheap, right? He's on a rookie contract and he's under team control for a long time. You know what I mean?
It's just that's pretty wild that he is, because if that's the case, they absolutely need to trade him now. While he's still got that value, because he was just in a Jack Harlow song. Everybody knows him. His Instagram has over 1 million followers already. That has intrinsic value. But there's only so long that's going to last once people realize that the hype is only going so far. The chances, if he doesn't really turn it around, I can't see him being an all-star level player.
Drop the drip.
I think that he maxes out. If everything breaks right for Tyler, and I've said this for a long time. This is not a new take. I was saying this last year, and I was saying this in the middle of a finals run. I was he maxes out as a 1 or 2 time all-star if things break right, kind of like Goran. And that's no slight to him. Mike Conley's never made an all-star team. Goran's only made 1 all-star team. If you remember, a lot of people had to get hurt for Goran to make the team. That's not a slight. Jaylen Brown's about to make his first. That's a really good fucking player. There's a lot of dudes that don't make all-star teams, and that's fine. And I've always said he's gonna be some version of whatever Lou Williams is. He's gonna be some version, probably an off-the-bench guy or maybe a spot starter who's gonna absolutely fucking light teams up. He's a really good scorer, has a lot of versatility in his game, but he's kind of small on defense, even though he does compete. I give him that. He's a little small, and I think that his passing is really not where it's ever going to be. I don't really. He doesn't have the vision, right? Like you see guys like Morant, you see guys like LaMelo, even guys like Bam. You saw pretty right away that they have a vision as a passer. Tyler does not have that. So I want to get into some numbers, Chris, because I know you have some numbers. Because I do want to talk about the positives about Tyler. As a pick and roll ball handler, he's fucking great. He's at 1.06 points per possession. It's 86th percentile. He's really good at using screens. He's really crafty. He's good at getting downhill. He's a very, very good pull-up shooter, and he's about at 50% on the year as a pull-up mid-range shooter, which is awesome. Because that's a shot that you're going to need to have in the playoffs. And he feasts on that drop coverage, which he really struggled with last season. So that's actually like a big improvement to his game.
But he feasts on it going mid-range only.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't added the 3-point. His 3-point shot has completely abandoned him off the dribble, off the catch. And a lot of it is on him. He just takes so many off-balance ones. You saw a couple fadeaways yesterday when it doesn't need to be. He just passing up good looks for bad and ending up with bad shots. That's another thing. The Heat overpass way too fucking much. It's not only the over reliance on the handoffs to start a possession that they spend 15 seconds they bring the ball up slow. They take 8 seconds to bring the ball up. They run 15 seconds to try to get Duncan open, and then they're taking a contested shot. I would love to see how many times they're shooting at the end of the shot clock or how many shot clock violations. It feels like a ridiculous amount. We have to lead the league in that. It's terrible how slow they are offensively, and Tyler's a problem with that. I think he hasn't struck the balance yet as a playmaker and a scorer. He doesn't know when he needs to be aggressive, when he needs to look at his shot. And, it was easy when he's playing with Gabe Vincent and stuff. But now he's playing with these guys, and he's like, okay, when do I pass? When do I shoot? Like he needs. We just need him aggressive.
So like the free throw shooting has been down for him too. He was at 87% last year, and his free throw shooting has dipped to like 78%. So it's like a whole almost 10 percentage points lower, which is, a big deal. And we've talked about how that's an indication for 3-point shooting and stuff. He's at about 33% this year, which is just not very good and not good enough considering the volume that he takes. And by the way, he's taken about the same as last year, considering he's playing like significantly more minutes, and he's has a much more prominent role in the offense. So that to me is like, you kind of get upset at that. And, you kind of, if he was a better shooter this season, a lot of things get fixed. Not all of them, but certainly a lot of things. They have too many minus floor spacers, and it's starting to be that he's getting too many looks that he's missing, and it's absolutely hurting their offense. The way that Andre is neutering their offense, and the way that guys help off of him and Jimmy all the time. You saw that last play. I tweeted about it this morning. They run that stagger screen for the handoff, and Jimmy's not a shooter. So Jimmy sets the initial screen as Tyler's curling. So Tyler's man, who's guarding the inbound, is going over the screen. Jimmy comes, and then Bam's man, Rui Hachimura, knows, well, I just have to switch this. So Tyler's man does not have to go around the screen. So at that point, the guy just has to split the difference and not make sure that pass doesn't get back to Jimmy. But Jimmy's a non-shooter. So in reality, it doesn't matter. You just have to make that pass tough. And then when Rui's going to switch on to Tyler, Bam's a non-threat. So he's not going to pop. So Rui doesn't have to worry that he's unguarded because Beal's kind of dropped in the paint off that possession. So, that's kind of the shit. It's like they play a lot of non-shooters. Their offense is really predictable. Tyler's not really where you want him to be. The guys at the end.
And that last play, they need a 3. Let's play Kelly Olynyk, who's 1 for 9 or whatever he was, and not Duncan Robinson. What the fuck is that?
It's ridiculous. And even at that point, you can have Kelly as a screener instead of Jimmy, because Kelly's a legit shooting threat. Even if he's 1 for 9, if he's getting the ball and if it's a smaller guy closing out, you fucking take that. I don't care if he's 1 for 9. I'd rather him there than Jimmy, because at least he's a threat to shoot the ball. And it's kind of lapses like that where I'm not 100% sure what Spo was doing. I don't really know what was going on. Why wasn't Duncan in the game? I don't know. But that's just the kind of shit that we go through. Christian, I know that you had some stuff on Tyler because, he's not been what they've needed him to be.
Beyond that, obviously the Heat are broken right now. And so was that right when we heard that there was supposedly a players only meeting last night?
I haven't seen anything reported. So
No, okay.
maybe not.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I hope.
I hope, because like obviously like that kind of thing is usually what tends to trigger like a real change. But
UD earned his check.
I mean, they need something to happen. Otherwise, you have to look at how you can salvage this. I mean, like I was going through a lot of the advanced stats today. I mean, box plus minus says very clearly that the Heat are very good with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. It's just the drop off from there that has been violent this season. I mean, they were playing guys like KZ Okpala and Gabe Vincent, who are -7, -8 in box plus minus, which means that teams essentially giving up. You're going to lose by 8 points every time they're out there if you scale that over a game. Like
they have too many guys that aren't rotation players, Chris. They have too many guys.
They have too many guys who aren't NBA players.
So you look.
That's what I'm saying.
You look at how to fix this, right? And I saw again someone putting out there today that the Rockets might be looking to move Oladipo, and
let's fucking go.
Right, and at some point, like, is it like an A move for like a superstar? Absolutely not. Like getting Oladipo, a guy you could probably just get in the offseason anyway, and maybe also being able to get somebody like, obviously PJ Tucker would be incredible, but maybe on a lesser side, somebody like Danuel House. So, and you look to see if there's ways that you could improve the around Jimmy and Bam, who are the guys you really got to be worried about. And get this team at least to be competitive again, kind of like they did with the trade they made last season when they traded Justice for Jay Andre, and it was Justice and obviously some other stuff for Jay Andre and Solomon. I feel like that might be what they're looking to do again. So that's the context that I was looking at a lot of Tyler's stats, and like I go back to the one that I looked at the data going all the way back to last year, including the playoffs, and I just looked at Tyler and Duncan. And when the Heat have Tyler Herro on the court and Duncan Robinson off the court, over 1,500 minutes, which is already getting a huge sample, they're -1 net rating. They're losing basketball.
When they're together.
No, just Tyler on the court without Duncan.
Without Duncan.
Purely and only analyzing those two.
And I think the context also is that those are largely bench minutes.
True. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different context in here. This is going back to when they were first coming into the league, when last season started. This is that regular season in the bubble. This is the playoffs in the bubble. And this is whatever we've had this season. But still, over all that time, the Heat with Tyler, without Duncan, losing basketball. When you flip that and you look at Duncan on, Tyler off, the Heat are +11 net in 1,400 minutes. That's 12 points per 100 possessions better than they are with Tyler on and Duncan off. That's a massive difference on a large sample. And then the big problem, and this is the biggest point of all this, when they're on the court together, in 1,100 minutes, they're getting outscored by 4 points per 100 possessions, with 115 defensive, 116 almost defensive rating. That is horrific. Awful. That is getting the doors blown off every single night.
It's fucking embarrassing, and it's the shit that we watch every night, and it's why I've kind of come to the point where I don't think that their future can have both of them. I think that they're both too important players, and they can't coexist. And if I had to choose who I want to keep, and this may sound fucking crazy, I think I pick Duncan. I think I pick Duncan because Duncan is a guy that teams game plan for. Like the Lakers in the finals, and even before that, the Celtics and the Bucks, priority number one, as we saw with their game plan. Hey, that handoff, when Duncan flies across that screen, that is our number one priority. They were putting the best defenders on Duncan. Not on Jimmy, on Duncan, right? And late in game, that kind of changed that a little bit. But for the majority of the game, their priority was, we are stopping Duncan Robinson. And even now, they're switching that stuff. And the thing I want to mention to people is everything in basketball has a counter. When you drop, you pull up. When you play up, you drive. Right? Like these are things. Basketball largely is rock, paper, scissors. Right? It's just who can do the most. And if you look at the Heat on the defensive side of the ball, when they switch, they're getting burned. They're getting killed. And the difference between when Bam drops and when Bam switches is astronomical. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're pretty insane. And the eye test kind of checks out on that. Teams are attacking the switches by working the matchups. Because that's what you do when teams switch. You go, okay, you're going to do this switch. I'm going to work around this matchup. I'm going to hunt the good one, and I'm going to punish you for doing that. Because you can't get away with that. And the Heat don't do that. Because when teams switch onto Duncan, they don't flip it back to Bam to attack. And that's the issue, is that they're letting teams dictate the terms of engagement of their offense. Their offense used to set the tone. Teams are game planning for their offense, and then the Heat then react to that. It's not the case anymore. Heat are playing by the other team's defensive set of rules. The other team sets the terms of engagement. The other team decides this is the chessboard we're playing on. And the Heat say, okay, we'll play. It's unacceptable. And that's why they're losing basketball games, because they've decided that they are going to do what the defense gives them, and they're too good for that. They're too good for that shit. And I don't think that Duncan and Tyler can coexist at this point anymore. And I know that they just had a finals run, but if we're talking their long-term future, Chris, I'm with you. I think that they, a friend of mine texted me last night, and he said, the Heat aren't above signing Victor Oladipo to a long-term deal anymore. That stung, man. That shit stung. Because they were above that. Because I was like, I don't want to fucking sign Victor Oladipo to a long-term deal. At this point, I'm like, well, fuck, they need something.
At the same time, though, he's looked really good this
season. He's looked good. But, are you willing to pay $22 million a year for that?
But this was the Heat. They were waiting for the prettiest girl in school to be available, and she was not interested. And now they're left. That girl that was an option all along was like, hey, she's not that bad.
Chat's so mad at me that Smith the Small Dick in chat saying you'd rather pay Duncan $20 million a year than have Tyler on a rookie deal for 3 more years. High on crack.
I mean, the argument there.
They're not gonna hold on. Wait a second, chat. They're not gonna pay Duncan 22. They're not.
I don't think he gets that much.
They're not. That's $7 million more than what fucking Joe Harris got, and Joe Harris was a better defender than Duncan. Duncan's gonna get the Joe Harris contract. Maybe he'll play ball with the organization, and they can whittle that down to 15 or 14.
Yeah, some incentives or something like that.
Yeah. They'll Andy's good at finagling that. So I don't think he's gonna get into the 20s. Also, yes, Fez Butter Strus took Shane's number. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
I could see the Luke Kennard, the 4 for 64. That would be a fucking team deal. Like that'd be a steal.
That would be a team deal. Shout out to Jack and Luke Kennard.
I would love Luke Kennard deal.
I think they're 3 rotation players away.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to point something out real quick, G. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned that one of the biggest problems with the Heat is their handoffs not working and stuff like that. They're not respecting as well. I also think the over reliance on the 3. Last year, they were the second best shooting team in the league at 37.9%. This year, they are 24th at 35%. They are shooting more threes than last year, and they were a better shooting team last year. That is a huge issue. They're not all that, like I said earlier when my mic was terrible.
Your mic's still terrible, but chat's pumping through it.
All right. Well, Goran is shooting worse. Kelly's shooting a lot worse. Kelly was an elite 3-point shooter.
That's why I'm soaking up so much usage today.
And Tyler was a very good 3-point shooter. Duncan is still elite, but he's not as elite as he was last year as well. So they're missing all that.
I think the Duncan spot up numbers are interesting because he's one of the best spot up.
He's shooting over 41% from 3. I just love
and 50% on spot ups. 50% on spot ups.
You know how he's great? Because his expectations are outside the realm of reality. Like people have these crazy expectations now of what Duncan is supposed to be doing, and he's still shooting over 41%. Like that is crazy.
Off like 9 attempts a game.
Insane volume.
And that's the argument against Tyler. What is Tyler's elite skill? It's supposed to be a shooter.
Instagram?
It's supposed to be a shooter, but he's not. He's not shooting free throws. He's not.
I think we're having connection issues again.
Yeah, we are. We'll pump through it.
He's not. He's only shooting well from mid range. He's doing better around the rim. But how much of this is empty calories? You mentioned
No,
Lou Williams.
it's not empty calories.
I feel like some of his scoring is empty calories.
The efficiency is not empty calories.
He's not efficient though.
Yeah, he is.
He's
as a pick, I gave you
no as a pick and roll handler, but that's very specific because he's not even making plays for anybody. What's the offensive rating?
That's true. No, but I think individual offensive rating.
I was looking at it. His assist to turnover ratio is the same as it was last season.
Oh no, he's not a good passer.
It doesn't seem like as a.
But that's the thing. What is
as a playmaker?
Like we talked about, we called him maybe Steph is the ceiling, maybe Beal, but they leverage their shooting ability to create opportunities for everybody. If he's not hitting shots, they're not. He can shoot 50% from mid range all he wants. That's not going to turn him into an elite player. He's got to hit the threes, and him taking all these fadeaways and off balance shit, not taking the open looks. I'm sure I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm sure his catch and shoot attempts are down because his overall 3-point attempts are down, and he's playing more minutes and playing more of a role on offense.
So, by the way, chat saying that he's shooting 32% on threes, which is average. No, that was average in 2010 maybe. Now the league average is like 36%. So he is well below league average, especially for his volume. They're not getting positive kind of return on those field goals. Tiffany says that Duncan's scoring and Tyler's whatever he's doing doesn't count toward wins. Again, like I think people have been hard on Duncan, and I think it's deserved, but I think he's been really good. And it's not his job to solve switches, right? He's not a ball handling maestro, right? He's doing his job. He's forcing the defense into an advantageous position for his best players. That's his job. That's literally his job. And that's on Jimmy and Bam to take over. And that's why I'm so hard on Bam, because when he forces that action, it's not his job to break down the defense at that point. He already did his job. He got a small guy on Bam. He has not only does he have a small guy on Bam, he has a big out of the paint because he plays small as shit. And their teams are downsizing to match the Heat. So not only is the big on the 3-point line, which is a fucking free drive to the rim, now Bam has a small guy on him. So, like, there's no excuse. Like, he did his job. He does have to be, I think, a little more aggressive shooting over guys. That's always been the MO on him. He has to fucking be better at that. But, yeah, I think I'm at the point that they have to look at a deal, and I think Tyler's obviously the most attractive thing they have to move. First and foremost, they need a power forward because they don't have one. And I mentioned this on Twitter the other day how, the Andre plus Jimmy plus Bam lineups as a front court, they're minus 45 per 100 possessions, which is absolutely fucking it's just like some of the worst shit in the league. And then when it's Jimmy, Bam plus wing shooter, so either Strus or Harkless or Harkless shooter in air quotes, Strus, Harkless or Duncan, they're minus 25 points per 100 possessions. So they don't have a power forward. They're playing Jimmy and Andre those minutes, and that's why you saw yesterday 1 for 9 Olynyk out there in crunch time. Christian, you're nodding because they have no choice.
I mean, fact of the matter is that
Tiffany wants to come for me in chat. Tiffany's bad at me.
I mean, Kelly's actually been pretty polarizing for me this season because, like, for me to the eye, he hasn't really played that great, and especially with the shooting he's been taking, he always takes a lot of off-balance bullshit. But
who KO?
Kelly. But I don't get mad at him because usually when he takes that off-balance bullshit, he either makes it or like was close, Yeah. But lately he's been tossing up some garbage, and so that's something that's alarming. But yet a lot of the team numbers show that the team's playing well with Kelly.
They guard him.
Exactly. I had somebody reply to one of my tweets earlier today with the numbers of Jimmy. I believe was it Jimmy and Bam? Yeah, Jimmy, Bam, and Kelly together are plus 21 in 114 minutes this season.
That's good.
Jimmy and Bam with no Kelly, minus 53 in 93 minutes. Like that's a pretty alarming statistic this early in the season.
I think people are really
upset. Show that I would imagine a lot of that is they're probably playing smaller and they're just getting exposed defensively.
Who, the Heat or the other team?
Yeah. When they decide to play Jimmy and Bam with not another traditional big.
Because Jimmy's not a power forward, right? And I think Jimmy's defensive activity has been suboptimal this season.
No, it's also the you can't cover for the other three with just Jimmy and Bam.
Yeah, because you just have Duncan and Tyler and whoever else is out
Goran.
there. And Goran just bleeding possessions.
Yeah,
right? Like they're getting killed on defense, and then
you can't run zone. There's nothing, no solving that.
There's no solving that. Which is why they need guys. They need 3 guys. They need a 4, a wing, and a guard.
And you've said, like you've talked about Andre at length this year, and he's been really good. But Andre is a 4th wing right now. He is not the 3rd.
Do you guys want to see one of the craziest things that I found today? The Heat only have 3 guys that are positive in box plus minus. It's Jimmy, Bam, and Andre. Yet, when those 3 guys are on the court together this season, the Heat are just getting blown out of the water. And like obviously,
repeat those 3 again. Repeat those 3 again.
Jimmy, Bam, Andre.
Well, you know why? The 3 non-shooters.
The offense goes to shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is in the corner when that team is together? Who is in the corner
Andre.
taking the corner 3, the wide open corner 3?
They don't guard him. They don't guard him. They leave him.
And they spend 15 seconds getting that dribble handoff that's not getting open. Bam doesn't be aggressive and take advantage. And now you're swinging it and rushing it to Andre, who's wide open.
It's just and he's missing and I think he shot okay from 3 this year, but the volume's not enough to punish teams, and teams are like, if you're gonna make 2 of those, that's fine. The other 10 times that you're out open, you're either gonna drive into 4 guys in the paint or whatever. And teams are packing the paint, and it's been and by the way, like Bam, who was so fucking obsessed with that little jumper, has really not taken many the last like 5 games, which has been kind of weird. Looking ahead to some of their trade targets. Andre has to be, by the way, Andre was their worst rotation player in the playoffs last year, right?
Who, Andre?
Yeah, last season in the playoffs. Like guess Kelly and Andre were the 2 guys that were.
I don't know if I would say Andre was.
I mean, he certainly wasn't one of their most important players. He was getting DMPs some games. In that Celtic series, there were times that he wasn't playing or whatever. So, like, Andre having such importance this season compared to last season when he was really just here's a guy that we can throw out here for 15 minutes a game to defend like hell. Now, all of a sudden, he has to play crunch time and he has to do a bunch of shit, which is just not – again, it's not optimal. And there's a lot wrong. And I know that I'm angry and I'm rambling and I'm yelling and I'm upset because I think this team is better than it is. And chat's saying to blow it up.
Man, because I think a lot of people are.
I'm just mad, dude. I'm just mad. They should be better than this. They should. They're better than this. And yet they're not. And a lot of the pieces are the same. And it's not that Jay Crowder's this good. It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of they lost the guy in Jay who was just fit perfectly into what they did. By losing him, they lost a power forward, and they just literally don't have any. I cannot stress this enough. They literally don't have anybody to play power forward. It's crazy. They're playing 2 centers because Olynyk's not a power forward. Olynyk's the center, and so is Bam. And Jimmy's not a power forward, and Andre's not a power forward, and Mo Harkless is not a power forward. And KZ Okpala sucks.
They've been playing Andre as a stretch 5. Like, just think about that. Like, that's essentially what he's been doing.
Like, it's fucking crazy. So, like, they don't have options at that position. So the very first thing they need to do is they need to get someone to play that position. Anybody. I don't care at this point. Find somebody. Hopefully they can spot up. The second thing they need is another guard because Goran... They're going to run Goran into the ground. And Tiff and Siobhan and Alf gave me shit. They gave me shit in the chat because I was like, they don't need another guard. They have too many guards. They have enough. I was wrong. They need another guard. They can't keep doing this to Goran. Goran needs to play those bench minutes. They need to find a starting point guard. And by the way, I think Tyler needs to go to the bench. That's a different conversation. But they need another point guard because Avery Bradley, that motherfucker keeps getting hurt. And when that guy's on the court, he's not even that good. So... I'm really done with Avery. By the way, listen to Light Skinned Opinions. That's going to be at 9 p.m. tonight. Alf is in chat reminding me. Check out 9 here on our Twitch page. Alf is going to they're going to get into LeBron and that white lady thing. Whatever happened. Whatever happened there.
Courtside Karen.
Whatever happened there.
Whatever happened there. Fuck that lady. So, yeah, I mean, they need those 2 things first and foremost. And then I think ideally you want one other rotation guy, whether that be a wing or whatever. Because I think for sure right now you can count on Jimmy, Bam, Goran, Tyler, Duncan, and Precious, and after that, they need to fill those next 3 spots because I'm not comfortable with what they have. And if Kelly is your 9th guy, I'm good. Or even if you're 8th guy, your other 2 better be really fucking good if he's your 8th guy. But that's Franky. That's where I am right now.
Yeah, and the Heat have some options. They have. I keep going back to I keep looking at options around the league, and I keep going back to what makes the most sense. And OKC, I think there's a deal there. Just because they have the pick protection.
The first time that we've traded with them.
Exactly, and they have the pick that you can loosen up restrictions that helps their flexibility with other trades. So I think something happens there in all likelihood. They have expiring veterans, George Hill and Trevor Ariza, who would both fit nicely on this team. I could see it as a move. They're definitely upgrades. Those are 2 rotation guys for sure. I also like Chicago, calling them up. They have like 3 good players I would really love on this team. Thaddeus Young, Otto Porter.
Otto!
What the fuck is that?
Otto, me baby!
Thomas
I'm ready
Satoransky.
for Otto.
I mean,
I'm ready for
Porter
fuck
would
those
be
guys.
a great fit because he also has size.
And
He's
an
a
elite
buy low
shooter.
guy. He has not been that good this year. He has not moved very well this year. And I think he's a perfect buy low guy because you don't need him out on the perimeter to guard. They have enough guys to guard in the perimeter. You need a guy as a help defender who's smart, has IQ, and be in the right spots. He's perfect. Perfect.
Well, I don't know about IQ. Wasn't he out in the middle of the pandemic, kissing random women in that video?
Man, wouldn't you want to be doing that?
I mean,
he was living the life we wanted to live.
G gives everybody shit for that, for going out, and now Otto Porter does it. He's like, yeah, Otto's cool.
Yeah, Otto's cool. Everybody else.
Have you guys heard that conspiracy theory that Otto Porter is Wilt Chamberlain's son?
No, that is
crazy. They put side by side.
I mean,
and the resemblance is pretty close. And Wilt Chamberlain is famous for saying he slept with 1,000 women. So
that's just not true, by the way. Wilt's a liar.
Wow.
Otto, by the way, 40.
He's hating on the GOAT.
41% career 3-point shooter, 40% this year on 4.4 attempts, which is pretty almost in line with Tyler's attempts.
That's Wilt's success percentage in the club.
Chat saying that Tyler's a glorified Peyton Pritchard. That's not nice. That's not nice. Tyler didn't storm the Capitol.
Trash.
What happened?
No,
what'd you say?
That Otto's been playing on a lot of trash teams, and he's been a positive box plus minus every season for the last 5. So he finds ways to be impactful. 40% shooter, got size. Yeah.
He's been moving like cement this year, and yeah. So I'm upset about that, but I think that listen, they bought low on Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder was playing awful in Memphis when they traded for him. He was literally sticking up the joint on a bad team, and then he brought him in, and he bought in, and they got him to do the stuff they needed him to do, and that's gonna be great. And I think with the way that he played defense specifically, their guard's just never gonna be able to stay in front of guys. So you're always gonna count on Bam or Precious and Drop to contain the ball handlers as well as they can. And when those guys get beat, they need someone to come help. And that help can't be Jimmy, who's trying not to pick up fouls. That help can't beat Duncan Robinson. That help can't be Max Strus. That needs to be legitimate, lengthy, smart help, right? Can't be Olynyk, who's just not – Olynyk's in the right spots, but he's just not bothering anybody, right? They need a guy to come in that back line and really force misses because the Heat have been – a good defensive team in the sense of they limit attempts at the rim and they bleed 3-point percentage. You need to really shore up those closeouts. So you really need to prevent that drive and kick game by containing the ball handler, right? Because they make the ball handler kind of give it up and then they're giving up 3. So they overhelp, and that's kind of my thing with them right now. I don't really know how much they have to trade. Bielitsa is going to be made available. The Heat also have a trade exception. I think it's like $7.5 million trade exception.
They also have the disabled player exception they just got for Myers
for $4.5 million. They also have their biannual exception.
So they should be aggressive in the buyout market for sure.
They're going to be aggressive in the buyout market, and they're going to be a team that's going to be able to, provide role, right? They're going to be able to tell players, hey, listen, we're going to give you role, and we're going to give you, minutes and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. They've really worn me out. They lost to bad teams all year. Lost to the fucking Hornets, then to the Wizards, and they have another game against the Wizards when Russell Westbrook's gonna play, and he's just gonna run roughshod over Tyler and Duncan, and probably they're gonna have to play Kendrick Nunn again because now fucking Avery Bradley's out. It's tough. It's defeating. It's tough, and obviously we want this team to play better. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot, and they have. I
feel like we just got to trash them on the internet.
That's what I did. Lot.
Because that's what happened to Steph Curry, and look at him. He's literally a god now. We need to trash him.
We need to resort to violence. Is what we have to violence. Alf in chat says, "I thought the name of this show
violence."
Alf says, "I thought the name of this show was Heat Intervention, which is bullshit because we all know John Crotty invented the Miami Heat."
You said intervention.
Yeah.
Did he say intervention?
He thought it said invention.
Yeah, you said intervention.
Oh, I said it. I read it wrong. I read the joke wrong. My bad, Alf. By the way, check out Hangover Time. After every single Heat game, you can have Alf drinking after Heat wins or Heat losses, whichever. Whatever. I think the one thing we got to know is that win or lose, Hangover Time is fun. Yes, absolutely. Nice job. Yes, Slim in the chat saying nice job, G. Shout out to Slim. So Hangover Time is a fun time, whether they win, whether they lose, right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/MIHeatbeat after every game. We also do a pregame show. Jack Alfonso and I, we kind of hold it down in the pregame. And we have fun. We're funny. We're trying to be analytical. It's really goofy, but we have a good time. Franky comes by a lot. So check that out. Also, if you haven't checked out our Patreon yet, what are you waiting for? And we're going to start next week with some of our live watch parties online. So, if you are interested in watching Heat games with us or watching parts of Heat games with us, we offer that in our Patreon tier, access to be on a Zoom call or a Discord call, or we watch some Heat basketball together. And I think that that's going to be a fun way to interact with our audience and our listeners. And especially during this COVID time where it's still kind of unsafe to go to bars and shit to watch basketball games. We can do it from the comfort of our own home. So you can have a beer and you can talk hoops with us, and we'll make it as fun and interactive as possible. There are other tiers like some more podcast related stuff, and also a newsletter that Christian and I will be working on. Alf is going to work on that. Siobhan, Tiff, Frankie, everybody on staff is going to really put together a fun newsletter beginning of the week to let you know everything you need to know about the Miami Heat. So that's fun. We're excited for that. Check out all the stuff that we have going on. Light Skinned Opinions, by the way, it's going to be in half an hour right here, 9 p.m., right here on our Twitch page, twitch.tv/MIAHeatbeat. Alf's making fun of me because I typoed his joke. Speaking. Guys, thanks for sticking through. I know we had some audio issues, but we made it. Jeffrey in chat is saying you start the podcast with, "We are here to listen to what everybody says," and then you just rant with your opinion. You have no discipline. What are you talking about? I read chat. I even brought up some of the trade suggestions that they had. Shmita Smolnik wants Depot and John Collins. I'm not a John Collins guy because I'm not interested in paying John Collins. Are you, Christian? You're making a face. I don't want to pay John Collins.
Making a face at the suggestion that that comment that person made was wrong.
Oh. Do you want to pay John Collins? Because I don't. That's my thing with John Collins. He's due for like a very chunky contract.
He's shooting 42% from three.
He's not like the kind of like wing you want though. Like he's not a guy that like really trusts.
He's a 4-5 though.
Yeah, I don't want a 4-5. I want a 3-4.
I'd give up Precious for him.
I would too, just because you could play next to Bam.
Yeah, he's 23, local guy. Shot the shit out of the ball in Dos Minutos driveway.
Yeah, but hold on, like chat saying that they're mad because I would pay Duncan but not John Collins. John Collins is going to be more expensive than Duncan, and Collins is a 4-5. They need a smaller guy. They need a switchable guy. They need a 3-4-ish guy. They don't need a 4-5. They need kind of that kind of wing like Jay Crowder.
But I think Bam has also been reluctant to be that 5 consistently.
Oh, Bam's a 5. I mean, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
no, but he wants to switch. He wants to be on the perimeter and harass guys. So is a young 4-5 who can play with him a big deal?
I mean, it's not ideal. Like,
He's a
it'll
good
obviously be
player.
good. I know, but maybe I'm too obsessed with like the right fit. Maybe they just have to go with whatever they can get, and they have to make
But
it
I think
work.
that could be a fit. He's 6'9",
It's a
235. He can shoot. He rebounds the ball well. I don't know how he's that good defensively yet, but
I don't
that
know.
could change down here.
Do you trust him guarding 4s like LeBron?
I
like
trust him more than fucking Kelly Olynyk.
But that's what I'm saying. They just need. I would like a more mobile guy, like
He's
on
pretty
the
mobile.
perimeter.
If he can play with Bam, he's covering Bam's weak. He's playing more help side, and Bam can switch up, guard those guys too. You have Jimmy Butler as well. It's like it's just that's a talent you can gamble on. I know you got to pay him, but
that's my thing. It's like I wouldn't want to pay like over $20 million for a guy that just doesn't fit you right. Chat, do you have anybody else? Is there any other trade pieces that you're interested in? Because like I'm pretty set on like an Otto Porter or a PJ Tucker / Victor Oladipo. Like that's what I really want, right? So if they can nab that, I'd love it. Thad Young is another guy, but he's not like Thad Young was not like he's not the shooter that you want him to be. Aaron Gordon's another guy that I think Aaron would be really, really good here, but he's just not like a good enough shooter. And I think he's not going to really help their offense very much. But I think defensively he can be really, really good. Levine's another guy. Chat brings up Curtis's Hero. Shout out to Curtis's Hero, man. Always here. Cool. You and Eric the Great, unsung heroes of Miami Heat beat.
You guys are great.
I'm not a Levine guy. I'm not a Levine guy. Chris?
He's been really good this year, though. I mean, I wasn't a Levine guy either, but he's been really fucking good this year. He's shooting the shit out of that ball.
I mean, he's just so bad on defense that, like, I don't know. I just feel like that
we have Tyler fucking Herro.
I know, man.
He inherently just has more size. Like, that's going to be beneficial.
More athleticism, too.
Fez Butter says Garrison Matthews.
True.
Listen, if he's going to play like he does against the Heat. Listen, the Heat contained Garrison Matthews yesterday and didn't get the win. That's
if it's
rough.
a thing where when he's in Miami, he plays like that, like, let's fucking trade for him right now. I know the Wizards probably won't want to, but too bad.
Who do you want besides like Otto Porter? Who do you want? Because Chad makes a good point. Like you say no to like everybody.
I want Porter. I want Depot. I want PJ Tucker.
He was a hard no on Depot early on.
Yeah, I've changed my mind. I've changed my
when he was cheap. When you could have got him for fucking nickels.
So Leif used to want Miles Turner plus Bam, and I was like, no fucking way, get that out of my life. And Miles Turner is now the Defensive Player of the Year. So I was wrong on that one. You know what it is, Frankie? Is that I'm so obsessed with the fit being perfect that if it's like not really what I envision, then I get mad. And that's probably wrong. Chat saying Lonzo Ball.
And Lonzo's not a perfect fit either, but I would take him.
I would welcome Lonzo because he really helps your defense, and I think that whatever you kind of his shooting's not as bad as like his shooting's been bad this year, but there's a good shooter somewhere inside of there.
I don't know about that, but I just think Lonzo's a guy who's going to make your team overall better for the course of the game. You're not going to close with Lonzo, but he's going to help your team through large stretches of the game.
Pokestick says, "Gee, I think your actual problem is that you have very bad opinions." That is true. Lonzo would really help them. I'm not gonna like Lonzo would be really, really good here. I don't know if Lonzo can play next to Jimmy and Bam, but I do think Lonzo can give him really, really good bench minutes. And I think Lonzo plus like Duncan in the backcourt with like a guy like Andre and then Kelly and whatever, like that could be a really interesting lineup when you kind of surround him with shooters and movers. I really like that. In theory. I don't know. Paying Lonzo is another thing. But the Heat... Oh, Harrison Barnes is another guy I would really like. I'm really into Harry B. I think he's good. I think he's been really good defensively. Not really good defense, but he's been very adequate defensively this year. I think he's a really good scorer. He's a guy that can get to the cup. He's a pretty good shooter. He's shooting like 40% from three this year. He's like kind of like the mold of player that would really help them. He's been on a title team before. He kind of has that experience. Has played with guys. I like him. I'm very into Harrison Barnes. Are you not? Am I alone on that?
Like the fit is decent. I don't think he like extremely improves the ceiling of this team.
Why?
Like some of the other guys.
Hold on, wait, but why not? Because he's averaging 17 a game, 41% shooting from 3, 50% from the field.
Here's your argument. I'm gonna use your argument.
He's almost 50, 40, 90. Like he's legit. Like
he's
at
on
the
a bad
cusp of,
team. Somebody's got to score.
Okay, but the official
nobody's paying attention to him.
Dude, you don't score 50, 40, 90 if you suck.
He's done it in 20 games.
It's good.
It's a
Imagine
small
if he's here.
Sample. He's not going to do that.
Imagine if he's here with
season.
good players.
If he does that over the course of the season, I will eat a hat on live stream. He's not going to be 50, 40, 90.
No, probably not. But I mean, he's putting up numbers. I mean, he's having probably his best season ever this year.
No, he's played really well.
Is he in a contract year?
No, he's got 2 years left.
By the way, his contract declines every year.
Yeah, but he's still making like $20 million each year.
No, he's not. It's like 16. It's like not that bad. Yes, I know.
He's making Duncan Robinson money.
Yes. So like he's a guy that I like the contract because he
makes $20 million next year, 18 the following.
18. Okay, that's not that bad. That's not that bad for the production that you're getting out of him. That's not that bad. Yeah, everyone in chat is making fun of me. I would rather have Harrison Barnes than Zach LaVine. There, I said it.
Oh my god.
Coach Adams
I've seen Harrison Barnes cost his team a final, and I'm not fucking with it.
Wasn't it Draymond kicking Braun in the nuts?
Oh, but Harrison Barnes was
Harrison Barnes.
He was the guy they left open for wide open threes, and he didn't shoot 50, 40, 90.
No.
Yeah, but I remember the dick kick.
Clutch Adam in chat says, "Why does Johnny always sound like he's romantically interested in the players he wants on the Heat?"
I want them so bad.
Alf says G would eat Harry B on live stream.